Hare Krishna. I feel live. Looks like it is. So, yeah. Good morning, Hare Krishna. Welcome to the introduction to Bhagavad Gita continuation. Again, just to say, I feel very honored to be able to speak on Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. It's such a so we'll just do a short Jai Radha Madhava, and then we'll go straight into the continuation of the introduction. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjahari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhara Jasodnandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Asto Tarasati Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindra Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, continuing from Bhagavad Gita introduction, again, we just emphasize the importance of Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. Recently, I've been listening to a lot of conversations where Prabhupada is interacting with all kinds of different people, and Bhagavad Gita is a very prominent part of his conversations. He tags everything, not everything, but many, many things back to Bhagavad Gita. He says the ABC of spiritual knowledge. And then we have Srimad Bhagavatam, the graduate study, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, postgraduate study. But all of these books are connected to the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada's very, very clear on that fact. And throughout his introduction, he makes it very, very clear for us. So the last part that we discussed, or that was discussed by the last speaker, is that it is very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and all the sincere devotees who are following very carefully Srila Prabhupada's instructions on Bhagavad Gita as it is. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Unless one reads the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it is very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery. Prabhupada's continuation. Just what is the Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from messy material existence. It's one of the neighbors parked up the road. You may know that or not. I drive up from the farm up to a place where we can get a signal. So the local neighbor popping out. The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the nescience of material existence. It's just a short sentence, but everything is contained in that sentence. It is the purpose to deliver mankind, because Prabhupada goes to great lengths to explain only the human flight out of 8,400,000 species is able to understand or to ponder the subject matter of who I am, what I am, why I'm in this world, and what is the purpose of our existence. That is the idea. Mankind is that special gift. And the Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the nescience of material existence. The material existence is nescience. It is not a right position. We are in a very awkward position here under the material energy. And there's a need to become delivered from the reality of it, which means dukkhalayama shasvatam. It is a temporary existence in the material world, and it is full of dukkha's, or different difficulties. So this is the idea of Bhagavad Gita. It can deliver mankind from this samsara chakra, the cycle, the repeated continuation of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. I've mentioned many times that's one of the most fearful things when we're preaching to people. We explain about reincarnation and we say, well, you have to come back again, and people get quite frightened by that, because it's hard enough going through one life, and we explain that you do it again and again and again and again. So you get two options always in spiritual life. One is to run away from that when you hear that, and the other one is to deal with it, to face it. And that is the devotee. The devotee takes up this challenge when they hear that this is our existential position in this material world, the material existence. We want to be delivered by adjusting the material existence that we're in, and that doesn't work. And you do it up until death, and you go and do it again and again and again. Puna punascharvata charvananam, repeatedly chewing that which has already been chewed. So Bhagavad Gita wants to deliver us from this. Continuing, every man is in difficulty in so many ways, as Arjuna also was in difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna surrendered unto Sri Krishna, and consequently this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Not only Arjuna, but every one of us is full of anxieties because of this material existence. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. Wonderful statement. Actually, we are not meant to be threatened by non-existence. Our existence is eternal, but somehow or other we are put into asat. Asat refers to that which does not exist. Wow. So, massive statement. And everything pivots around this statement. Everyone, not only Arjuna, everyone is full of anxieties because of his material existence. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. So we're existing, the eternal Sat, living entity who never dies. Na jayate mriyate vakarat chinnayam bhutva bhutava. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that for the soul there is never birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, ever existing. He's not slain when the body is slain. Srila Prabhupada was explaining that in one of these conversations recently, that dehinos yatha dehe, that as we continually pass in this body from boyhood to childhood to youth to old age, we don't die. Body changes, we remain. We experience life as a child, we experience life as a young person, middle-aged person, and we go on to old age. So Krishna is trying to help us and what the game plan is. The game plan is that you keep moving through your material body that you have now, and eventually you have to leave the body and give up the old and useless body. It's very simple, but absolutely profound. So this is the position we find ourselves. Our existence is eternal, but somehow or other we are put into asat. Now, Prabhupada, I'm sure, is going to explain how we are placed and why we're placed into asat, that place which actually does not exist. It is a temporary manifestation. It is real, but it is so fleeting. And Prabhupada was speaking also on that subject, that just this is our day dream, and we have a night dream. At night, we go to bed and we dream of so many things. We give up a connection to our sign out, hey, I'm going to bed. And it means we sign out and we leave behind our wife or children or family members, whatever our position is, and we move into another state of existence called the dreaming state. And there we take on so many different identities, and so many activities are played out in dreams. And at that time, we've got no connection to all of this daydream. So Prabhupada was making the point that there's no difference. There's the night dream, and then there's the daydream. We wake up, and all of the night dream fades away into oblivion. We may try to capture some of it for some reason, good or bad. Great, we were something wonderful, we want to hang on to it. Something terrible, we want to tell everyone this was a terrible dream I had, and so on and so forth. But it all fades away very rapidly, and we take on from where we left off the previous day. Oh, yes, I've got this appointment, I've got this to do. Oh, I want to do that, I want to achieve that. Oh no, this is happening, I wonder how this is going to turn out. And we get to this daydream. So that last statement, asat, refers to that which does not exist. This daydream, night dreaming, it does not exist. In 1972 in Vrindavan, I quote this quite often, Srila Prabhupada was speaking, and the 9th of November, he said that everyone is struggling to gain something that he does not possess, and he's lamenting for something that he has lost. But when he himself realizes that there is nothing to gain and there's nothing to lose, I have nothing to do with this material world, that is Brahma, that is Brahman realization. And that's where spiritual life begins. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Jati Nakanshati Samaha Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Lapate Param. When one is thus transcendently situated, no longer hankering or lamenting for the temporary asat, the things that do not actually exist. Childhood activities have gone. They seem so real. They seem so but now we're on to something else. And guess what? All of what we're trying to achieve and we're lamenting about now will disappear also. So this asat existence does not, should not demand our full absorption. We have things to perform, duties to perform in ways, and that should not be our main focus. So let's continue. So many human beings who are suffering. There are a few who are actually inquiring about their position as to what they are, why they are put into this awkward position, and so on. So again, Manushanam sahasrishu kaschit yatiti siddhaye yatatamapi siddhanam kaschit mamvati tatvata. Out of many millions of persons, hardly one person will inquire and be in this mood of inquiring. And why is that? Bhogaishvarya prashaktanam taparita chetasam. One who's captivated by the idea of sense enjoyment and material opulence, the resolute determination for devotional service doesn't place. When we're too attached and we're bewildered by this idea of sense gratification and material opulence and the dream. It said, want to live the dream. Just live the dream. So have your dreams and try and live dreams, but guess what? It's all a dream. So rather, the great Acharya said, Ji Jago, Gora Chandra Bole. How long are you going to sleep in the lap of the witch? Sleeping in the lap of the witch called Maya, illusion. In this way we dream and we try to live the dream. The Acharyas say, wake up, sleeping soul. Don't sleep forever like this, dreaming your whole human form of life. Utilize it in a proper way. So this is unknown for modern society, unfortunately, and Prabhupada points that out everywhere, that they're not being educated in the reality of life. So out of many millions or thousands, hundreds, many persons, hardly one will endeavor for perfection. And of those who have attained perfection, hardly one will know me in truth. This is what Krishna says, because that's not what they want. They still want to dream. Turn on the new video, turn the movies, live in the dream, and the way we pass our days. So hardly one to his awkward position. Unless one is awakened this position of questioning his suffering, unless he realizes that he doesn't want suffering, but rather wants to make a solution to all suffering, then one is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one's mind. So this is the human form of life. Fatato Brahma Jignasha is meant for inquiring to the absolute truth. Mashana Indriya Pritiya Labo Jiveta Yavata Jivatya Tattva Jignasha Nato Yaschiha Karma B. In the second chapter of Bhagavatam, first canto, Krishna explains that life should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a life for self-preservation, since the form of life is meant for inquiring into truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's work. So this is a very key statement. The goal, we have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to mate, we have to defend. The activities of material life certainly are there, and they have to be executed to the best of our ability. But it should not be the goal of human life, not be the goal. So that's Param Gatim, the supreme goal. That is what we are interested in. Now where we in the Brahma Sutra, this inquiry is called Brahma Jignasa, Tato Brahma Jigna. Every activity of the human being is to be considered a failure unless he inquires about the nature of the absolute. Shrama eva hi keva. Bhagavatam also explains that in that section in chapter 2. Dharma smrustita pum vishvakshena katasaya notpadaya dyatiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. The occupational activities a person performs according to his own position, according to the caste divisions and orders of life, are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. So um, it's interesting, the caste divisions and orders of life, unfortunately, the system that Krishna has given has been left behind, and we're bound by capitalism and democracy and communism, thisism, that-ism. A casteless or a classless society, communist, but actually after many years of communism, it was found there was at least two classes, the managerial class and the working class. Somebody had to manage and somebody had to do the work. So they reduced it to two pretty much, but it's still there in the name of one. And then we're thinking if we can put the country, nationalism at the center, then that will give us a good future for humans, for at least for our country. But by placing all these different things in the center, human endeavor, human philanthropy, nationalism, etc. This is, and that is the wrong center. That it's perfect center, but it is a imperfect center. Somebody else has pulled up. Sorry, I get a little distracted. Hare Krishna. I think maybe somebody else gets a signal up here too. Okay, so human question is yeah. Atato Brahmaji, every activity of the human being is to be considered a failure unless he inquires about the nature of the absolute. So it's all just a bit of a waste of time, really. And it's and you, well, hey, tough luck, it was a waste of time. But again, this is ignorance. The human form of life is gained after so much time through different speeds of life, and then lose that. If we lose the human form of life, it is a great tragedy. It's not what Krishna wants. He wants us to utilize it properly, and it is in the self-interest. So that of the living entity himself, and the devotees of the Lord, they're very. That's their only concern, actually. Real pure-hearted devotees. Their concern is to help others. Para upakar, the supreme welfare work. And that this welfare work is to give people the opportunity to take up spiritual life and to support them, to give them guidance and support to execute devotional life. It's not just to start their devotional life, make arrangements to try to give support, which is required. It's interesting, the support that's required is Shastra. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that it's important that four aspects of one's life have to be addressed. This one is a Paramahamsa. So I used to say like that, put your hand up if you're at the Paramahamsa state, and a lot of hands go up. So he says one has to look after his health. The health has to be in good. I've got a young girl walking up with a horse. I think she's going to go past me. She's coming straight to me, but very interesting. I think she's going to pop across the road. There's a horse training place just across the road, so must be going. Okay, where were we? Oh yes, so four of support have to be. First one, back to Vinod Thakur says that one's health, one has to keep good health. And Srila Prabhupada also explained that we have to maintain our health and a proper, not be neglected. So health is very important. Oh gosh, here's a dog. You'd think it was a farm place or something. Woof, 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 meow. So health is we got. The next one, I'm trying to remember what the next one is. One has to be situated properly socially. One has to be married in a proper societal situation. The next one is the mind has to be given suitable stimulus. The mind has to be satisfied and placed. One's activities have to be conducive for the mind to be satisfied. Otherwise, the mind will be very so the mind has to be properly placed. The health has to be put in positions socially. One has to be socially placed in a proper way, in a proper family, and so on. And then the study of Shastra, one's sadhana has to be in order. So all four have to be addressed, and that is the idea of the Krishna conscious society, is to give support in all those areas so that people can continue to execute the activities of devotional service according to their position in the material world. Okay. Therefore, those who begin to question why they are suffering, or where they came from, and where they shall go after death, are proper students for understanding Bhagavad Gita. The sincere student should also have a firm respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a student was Arjuna. So it appears that there has to be some qualification to understand Tadviti pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekyanti te gyanam gyananas tattvadashina. That one should approach a spiritual master and render service in a submissive mood, a submissive inquiry, absurd inquiries, but submissive inquiries in a mood of rendering service. And that self-realized spiritual master can impart knowledge unto you because he is established in the truth. And that is the proper mood to approach an inquiring, but in a submissive mood, with the mood of trying to understand the subject matter. Bhavagrahi Janardhan is a name for Krishna. It means that he knows the heart of the inquirer. He knows everyone's heart. He's situated in everyone's heart. And he's directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material nature. Yantra Rudhani Maya, this material nature. So Krishna is there. And when we inquire in that way, he will guide us to to gain the knowledge that we are desiring, and to help us make progress in spiritual life. Lord Krishna descends specifically to reestablish the real purpose of life when man forgets that purpose. So that's explained also later in Bhagavad Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavitara. Like that. It says that he appears whenever there is a decline in religious practice and a predominant rise of irreligion. At that time I invent myself, millennium after millennium. So people say if there's a God must be dead, we can't see God. Why doesn't he show himself? So on and so forth. But actually Krishna is manifesting constantly in so many ways, the Lord. But we have got to learn how to see his manifestations, and therefore Shastras like Bhagavad Gita are helping us to learn the science through the bona fide representative of Krishna, the spiritual master. That's the system. Just like when we want to approach someone big in this world, a big film star or a big politician or royalty, or whatever it may be, there's a system, there's a way. You can't just knock on the prime minister or the president of the country's door and walk straight in. You have to approach a pretty humble mood and try and arrange and see such a personality. And then their secretaries will be able to make some arrangement if it's seen that you're an appropriate candidate. There's a reason you come to the right person. So in a similar way, if you just want some material benefit, Krishna has got arrangements. He's got all kinds of arrangements through his universal management for you to be facilitated. But if there's some sincerity, Krishna will say, okay, now here's the system. Looks like sincere. So approach this personality, the bona fide spiritual master, inquire in a mood of submission and try to learn. And the spiritual master, what will he do? What will he say? Will he make something up? No. He will give you my instructions. Exactly. Bhagavad Gita as it is. So whatever Krishna has said, the Guru, he's the original Guru, then this master will impart that knowledge unto you. So Krishna says, Rasoham apsikuntaya, prabhasmi sasi suryayo. I am the pure taste in water, not just water, but in anything with liquid. So many things, all the fruits and anything that has that rasa, the taste, rasoham, apsakunt, I am that. So every time when we first heard at the beginning, I'm sure we all heard that Krishna is the pure taste in water. From that day on, when we take a drink of water, guess what? You start to think of Krishna. I am the light of the sun and the moon. So when we see the sun, just like Shyam Sundar Prabhu said it when he went to the beach with Srila Prabhupada, I think it was Hawaii, and Shyam Sundar said, oh, Srila Prabhupada, it's so beautiful here. He said, it's so difficult to remember Krishna, these beautiful waves. And he's thinking I could go and surf and do a bit of surfing. And wow, it's very attractive. And Srila Prabhupada's response was that, how can you not think of Krishna? That's so beautiful. You're reminded of Krishna. You're seeing such a beautiful arrangement. The ocean is Krishna. The sun is Krishna. So this is the way, by associating Sadhusanga Shava Shastri Hoy. Lavamatra Sadhusanga Sava Shri Hoy. Even a moment's association with such a personality can change our life in so many ways. And it doesn't take long. Srila Prabhupada has explained that too. Just a moment can be the beginning, and everything begins to shift. This is the power of the Supreme Personality of God. Either we see him directly in front of us, that's face to face, or we see Krishna through the form of his holy name. We hear Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Or we see Krishna in many of his manifestations. If we can connect them back to Krishna, a rapid transformation happens. And I mentioned this, I think, the other week. Walk away from everything. And devotees did that in so many circumstances. Kinds of surroundings, they just left them because of the massive transformation. So that is the power of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Srila Prabhupada said that there were so many Bhagavad Gitas. The Bhagavad Gita was current in the Western society for hundreds of years, and different versions of Bhagavad Gita. People, especially philosophers and so on, but no one, not a single devotee, because they were adding and subtracting, adding something and subtracting something. When Krishna says that, he doesn't really mean that to surrender to him. He means to surrender to the unborn within Krishna. That's not what Krishna said, but commentators speak in that way. Therefore, no one surrenders to Krishna. They just enjoy the armchair philosophy of an Eastern classic in that way. Gosh, now we got, that's the tractors. That's, just wait till it goes past. But Srila Prabhupada said, when we're presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is, then thousands, he said, of people are becoming Krishna conscious and transforming their whole lives. So that is Krishna's arrangement. He specifically comes to display his pastimes, to please his pure devotees, and to reestablish the purpose of religion, and he sends his representatives throughout history. Even then, out of many, many human beings who awaken, there may be one who actually enters the spirit of understanding his position, and from this Bhagavad Gita is spoken. I will read 1, 2, 3 lines and then finish there. Actually, we are all swallowed by the Tigris of nations. Maybe somebody could pick it up from there, but it's halfway through the paragraph, so I'll finish it. Actually, we are all swallowed by the Tigris of nations. Wow. But the Lord is very merciful upon living entities, especially human beings. To this end, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, making his friend Arjuna his student. So we are all swallowed, gobbled up by the Tigris of nations, ignorance. But the Lord, so that's our position. We're covered, swallowed up by the nations, thinking that if we can make some adjustment to our situation, wow, can't adjust death. You may adjust your present circumstance in some way by acquiring a little more money or wealth or position or friendships or whatever it is, world, that's there. You cannot avoid your mortality. So it's dukkhalayam. You can adjust the dukkha's to get a little more happiness, possibly, although that's another discussion, that actually you can't really, you have a certain allotment of happiness and distress. But anyway, one may endeavor to try and increase one's happiness. But one thing you can't do is we can't adjust our mortality of the material body. So as the days go past, we go closer towards our inevitable demise. Pardon me. So this is the nescience that Prabhupada's talking about. Thinking that we can make an adjustment is an illusion, and thinking that we can continue in this body is, a lot of ignorance. There's a lot of illusion going on there. But the Lord is especially kind to the human beings, and that's why he spoke Bhagavad Gita, making his friend Arjuna his student. So I'm going to finish there. I should have mentioned, although it's all tech, there is a little button. I'll press it. Don't know if it will work. Yeah, just keep that in mind for future classes. At the no, she was in about the middle of the screen, the two heads. I don't know what that one's for. The middle one's a chat box or like a speech bubble. Middle one. So if you have any comments or questions, you can press that. Streaming process goes on, and whatever your question or comment up there, and then I can press that button at the end of the class and see if there's any questions or any comments. So that's that central button. I think it's just below where you might see the video of me. 3 buttons. Central one is for making it. Okay, so we're going to finish there, and we'll pardon me. If anyone has got any quick question, please, if you can try and use that little button, see if it works. Click it. It's the little one in the center. There's right, it's got a lock on it, so don't go to that one. And there's the one in the center, is the speech bubble. It's open. One on the left with the 2 heads, which I'm not sure what that is, or 2 silhouettes. So if you have anything, you can pop it in that center one. You also could make some comment if you get a chance of the time. We're streaming this at 9 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't conflict with the temple program in that way, which I think is good. I'm just wondering if there's anybody finds that there's a time that would be more suitable if we get over the next number of days, if we get any comments that there's a more suitable time. Well, it's something that could be discussed. Although I understand that you can do this at any time, but you may find that the live stream, if it's a different time, might be of benefit. Okay, so I'm going to close the program now, and we offer obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari.